Have you ever had an airport day where everything seems fine, and then someone scans your pass and says, "Hold on a second. What if I told you millions of passengers are about to get blindsided, and most of them won't realize it until they're already at the airport?" That's 2026 travel. Flying isn't impossible, just less predictable. The same routine can behave totally differently depending on where you are. We're talking about ID rules, verification fees, biometric checkpoints, priority lanes that look the same but play by different rules. So in this video, I'll break down what's changing in 2026, what people keep assuming wrong, and the simple habits that save you from paying last-minute costs and sprinting to the gate. Let's start with the one that feels the most unfair, because it can hit your wallet before your trip even begins. What's the dumbest way to start a trip in 2026? You're standing at the TSA, your boarding pass is ready, and someone asks, "Do you have another ID?" Because if you show up without a real ID or another acceptable ID, TSA can route you into a backup identity check called Confirm.ID. And yeah, it can come with a $45 fee. Now, does paying that mean you're instantly cleared? Nope. The fee covers a 10-day travel window, so it's meant to help you limp through a round trip. But it doesn't pause boarding and doesn't make the line behind you any happier. Picture a quick work trip morning. You're moving on autopilot. Wallet, phone, keys done. You hand over the same license you've used forever, and the officer gives you that tiny pause. Then, anything else with your name on it? The money isn't even the main pain. It's the time you lose while you're stuck proving you're you. And the rough truth, Confirm ID isn't a guarantee. TSA says it can take extra time, sometimes 10 to 30 minutes. And if they can't verify you, you still won't get through. The fee also isn't refundable, so it's not the kind of lesson you want to learn at 6:40 a.m. in a crowded terminal. So for 2026, do one simple thing before you leave home. Physically check your ID the same way you check your phone battery. If you're not sure your license qualifies, bring a passport book or passport card as backup. The goal isn't to win a debate on security. It's to get to your gate like a normal person. And once you finally get past the ID problem, the next thing that starts the most arguments is liquids. Ever walk into airport security thinking you've got the routine, and then the routine changes on you? That's liquid in 2026. Some lanes with the newer CT scanners let you keep your laptop and liquids in your bag, so you're thinking, "Oh wow, this is finally civilized." Then you get sent to another lane and it's instantly laptop out, liquids out. And that tiny switch is what messes people up, because they assume the rule is the same everywhere. It isn't. Security is mid-upgrade, so the procedure can change by airport and even by lane. The mistake isn't being confused. The mistake is trying to debate it with the TSA while everyone behind you is loading bins and staring. So instead of moving through, you're stuck doing the side table repack. Unzip, pull out the laptop, grab the liquids pouch, rebuild your trays, and hope nothing gets flagged. And if you packed liquids thinking the scanner would bail you out, that's when things get tossed. The shortcut is packing for old school 311 every time. Keep liquids and your laptop easy to grab. If you land in a future lane, great, free upgrade. If not, you're ready in seconds. In 2026, don't argue the rules from another airport. Read the lane you're in and run that play. And I'm curious, have you been through one of those future lanes yet? Or are you still getting the Ziploc era? Drop your airport in the comments. Have you ever been stopped at the gate for something you didn't even know you were supposed to apply for? That's the UK ETA, Electronic Travel Authorization. It's not a visa. Think of it like a permission slip tied to your passport. And it doesn't guarantee entry. It just lets you travel. And here's what makes it sneaky. The airline can't just shrug and let you sort it out later. From February 25th, 2026, if you don't have the ETA when you need it, they can refuse boarding because they're the ones stuck with the mess if you show up not cleared. You know what's crazy? The way people get caught is almost always the same. It's that last-minute London trip. You've done the route before, you're feeling way too confident, and then check-in throws a question you weren't expecting. ETA? And you're standing there like, my what? And you might be thinking, fine, I'll just apply right now. Yeah, don't count on that saving you at the counter. Even if you can apply on the spot, you're gambling your whole trip, and that's when scam sites love to show up. Official-looking logo, urgent processing, triple the price. Panic is their product. Fortunately, this one is easy to avoid if you handle it before travel day. Check whether your passport needs a UK ETA for your trip. Apply early through the official UK route, save the confirmation, and do one quick sanity check. The passport number has to match what you're traveling with. New passport? Treat it like starting over. Apply again. And if you think that's strict, wait until Europe's new entry system, where your face and fingerprints can matter more than the stamp in your passport. Picture a big Schengen airport right after landing. The whole plane funnels into immigration, and you realize a chunk of people are doing this new kiosk step for the first time. Cameras, fingerprint scanners, confused faces, and a line that moves but not at the pace you built your connection around. That's Europe's entry-exit system, EES, started rolling out on October 12th, 2025, with the full switch by April 10th, 2026. And when it's fully live, a lot of travelers are going to notice the change immediately. Instead of the quick stamp and go, your first entry can feel like a quick enrollment. What does that mean in normal people terms? The system creates a digital record of your entry and exit, and the first time you use it, you may be asked for biometrics, your photo and fingerprints. So if you collect passport stamps like little trophies, your new souvenir is a camera flash and a fingerprint scanner. Where this really messes with plans is connections. A lot of frequent travelers love that tight but doable layover through a big Schengen airport. But EES adds a step for first-timers, and it doesn't have to be dramatic to cause damage. It just needs to be slow enough that suddenly you're doing math in your head like, okay, if I jog, do I still make this? Families underestimate it the most. Kids still get processed. Children under 12 currently won't be fingerprinted, but they still need the photo and the checks. So you're not exactly flying through when your 6-year-old decides the camera is the perfect time to look at the floor like it personally offended them. And the 3-step routine I've settled on for 2026 after watching people get burned by this. First, buffer time. Stop treating short Schengen connections like a flex. Second, passport in hand before landing. No digging under snacks and chargers while the line moves. Third, at the kiosk, make it easy. Hat off, eyes up, follow the prompts, and you're done. And later in 2026, Europe adds another travel checkbox, ETIAS, and that one starts before you even leave home. ETIAS is about to become the biggest money trap rumor in travel, because the system isn't even fully live yet, but the scam sites are already acting like it is. Here's the anchor you can remember. ETIAS is expected to start in late 2026, last quarter. Until it's actually live, you don't need to apply for anything. If a site is trying to get you approved early right now, that's not preparation. That's getting sold. And when it does go live, it's basically Europe's ESTA-style authorization for visa-exempt travelers, online approval tied to your passport. The planned fee is 20 euros. So if you click a link and it's suddenly 60 euros with priority processing, congratulations, you found a toll booth that isn't on the highway. The good news is you're not paying that for every single trip. When you get approved, ETIAS is generally valid for up to 3 years, or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. In other words, it's one application that can cover multiple trips, as long as you're traveling on the same passport. My rule for this is simple. Ignore hype, use the official EU channel when it opens, save the confirmation, and move on. Paperwork is annoying. But the next update is worse, because it happens at the gate, with a bag sizer and a scale. Alright, let's talk about the scale. Because this is the rule that doesn't care how often you fly or how small it looks. Carry-on size and weight checks at the gate have been common in parts of Europe and Asia for a while, and now you're seeing that style spread. More sizers, more spot checks, more please place your bag here moments right in front of everybody. And if you've wondered why airlines don't let it slide anymore, because one exception turns into 5 arguments, and boarding grinds down. So they enforce it at the gate before the aisle becomes a luggage shuffle. But you know what the biggest misunderstanding is? I brought this last time. Different aircraft, different crew, different limits, sometimes a different fare type. Your bag didn't change, the rules around it did. Then comes the most painful part, the public weigh-in. Your bag goes on the scale. It gets weirdly quiet, and suddenly you're doing math in your head while strangers pretend not to listen. And if you're over, the gate fee is usually the worst fee because you're paying at the latest possible second. I've seen this happen at Orlando International on a budget airline. $75 for one bag to fix it at the gate. At that moment, nobody's in a good mood. So don't gamble on looks fine. If your bag is even close, measure it and weigh it at home before each trip. And keep your personal item ready to take weight off fast. Chargers, camera gear, anything dense and heavy. If this has ever made you rage on the inside, drop the airline name in the comments. Let's build a real-world list of who's strictest. Because once you see how expensive that last-minute gate moment can get, you start noticing something else. That's why those cheap tickets in 2026 aren't always cheap. After you watch someone pay a gate fee for a bag they thought was fine, you realize something. The ticket price was never the price. That cheap fare is basically an entry fee. The stuff that makes a trip feel normal, your carry-on, your seat, your flexibility, gets sold back to you in little upgrades that don't feel painful until you add them up. And that's why it works. It's not one big charge that scares you off. It's a bunch of small, surefire clicks. Then you look up, and the $79 deal is suddenly $180 one way, because you quietly added a bag and a seat you can actually live with. In 2026, it hits harder, because enforcement isn't vibes anymore. If your fare doesn't include the bag you show up with, the airport price is rarely gentle. And when plans change, this is where cheap tickets really bite. The base fare might turn into credit, but a lot of the extras don't. The fix is boring, but it's the only thing that actually works. Add seat and bag, then judge the fare. If you only win when you pretend you don't need anything, it's not a deal. And pick your lane early. Personal item traveler or carry-on traveler. Because the I'll decide later version is where the fees hide. You've probably heard this floating around lately. Now you can apply and go through TSA without a boarding pass just to walk someone to the gate. That headline is kind of a mess. What's happening is that some airports are bringing back a limited guest pass program. You're not buying VIP access. You're getting permission to enter the secure area as a non-flyer, and you still go through normal TSA screening. And in most cases, it's the regular lane, no pre-check, no clear. Honestly, it's kind of sweet. It's the closest thing we've had to that pre-9/11 walk them to the gate vibe. The clearest example is Seattle. SEA's visitor pass caps access at 300 a day. You apply online, get an approval email with a QR code, and enter through checkpoint 4. It's capped, it can change, and it's never guaranteed, but if you get it, you can go airside and hang with your person until they take off. What I do is treat it like I'm traveling. Check the airport's official site. Apply early, save the QR code, and bring the same ID I'd bring for a real flight. Then go in expecting normal TSA rules, because that part doesn't change. And since we're talking about IDs and checkpoints, let's get into the tech trap next. Digital ID on your phone, and why it's amazing right up until it isn't. Digital ID sounds like the future. And when it works, it's great. Tap your phone, feel like you just unlocked a shortcut. The problem is people hear TSA accepts it and translate that as I can leave my physical ID at home, because digital ID isn't a universal switch that's flipped everywhere. It depends on the airport, the checkpoint setup, and whether your state's digital ID is actually supported in that lane. So you can have it perfectly set up on your phone and still run into a checkpoint that needs the physical card. And that's when the vibe changes fast. You go from, look how modern I am, to, okay, what now? And suddenly, you're doing the annoying identity dance you thought technology eliminated. So how do you use digital ID the smart way? Physical ID stays on you anyway. If the reader's there, awesome. Seconds saved. If it's not, you don't pay for it with your whole day. Now, speaking of things that feel safe because you've done them a million times, let's talk about power banks. Because in 2026, the fastest way to get unwanted attention on a plane isn't your seat, it's what's in your bag, charging. The oldest rule in this whole video is still one of the easiest ways to cause a problem every single year. Power banks and lithium batteries. The baseline hasn't changed. But here's the gotcha. Nobody remembers until it's too late. If your carry-on gets gate checked, you're supposed to pull the power bank out first and keep it with you. Handing your bag over with a power bank inside is how you accidentally break the rule without realizing it. Now, what feels tighter in 2026 is what happens on the plane. After a string of battery fire incidents, A lot of airlines, Emirates, Singapore Airlines, EVA Air, China Airlines, and more, have gotten a lot stricter about using power banks during the flight. In some cases, you can bring it, but you can't charge it or use it to charge anything on board. Policies vary by carrier. Check your airline's rules before you fly. And I'll admit, I learned this the uncomfortable way. I once plugged in my phone and nodded off. A crew member woke me up and asked me to unplug and keep it visible. I felt embarrassed because it hit me that this isn't being picky. It's safe. So here's how you stay out of that situation. Bring a reputable power bank. Nothing swollen, nothing damaged. Keep it in your carry-on. Protect the terminals. And don't forget to charge your devices before you board, so you don't end up getting the same tap on the shoulder reminder I did. And one more thing you might already know, but I'm saying it anyway just to be safe. Check the watt hours. The safest zone is under 100 watt hours. 101 to 160 watt hours usually means you'll need airline approval. Over 160 watt hours? Don't bring it. That's the line. So that's 2026 travel in a nutshell. It's not that flying is broken. It's that the little details you used to ignore are now the parts that decide whether your day goes smooth or gets expensive. The good news is you don't need to memorize 100 rules. You need a couple of habits. ID check, pack for strict lanes, bag limits locked, and power bank treated like safety. If this video saved you from even one headache, hit like so it reaches other travelers who'd rather fly than argue. Subscribe if you want more updates like this, practical, current, and actually usable. And I really want to know, which change feels the most annoying to deal with in real life? ID fees, liquids rules, Europe's new systems, or carry-on weigh-ins? Drop one word in the comments so I can see what's hitting people the hardest. Travel's still worth it. Just don't let 2026 charge you tuition for lessons you could learn right here.